Bam Bam Bigelow wasn't just another wrestler, he was a game changer. Weighing nearly 400 pounds, he moved with the speed and agility of a cruiserweight, defying expectations every time he stepped in the ring. His flaming skull tattoo made him one of the most visually striking wrestlers of all time, and his fearless in-ring left audiences stunned. With a career spanning WWF, WCW, ECW, and Japan, Bigelow took on legends, headlined WrestleMania, and even became a real-life hero, rescuing children from a burning building. Yet, despite his impact, his name is missing from the WWE Hall of Fame. That fact raises a big question: why? Some believe it's because of his troubled past. Others point to backstage politics, claiming Bigelow rubbed the wrong people the wrong way. Then there's the tragic ending to his life, one that WWE might not want associated with its brand. The truth is, wrestling isn't just about talent. It's about who gets remembered and who gets erased. And for some reason, WWE has chosen to keep Bigelow's legacy in the shadows. But was this decision justified, or is it an injustice to one of wrestling's greatest big men? Today, we're diving deep into Bam Bam Bigelow's life, career, controversies, and the real reasons WWE may never honor him. Stick around as we uncover the untold story of a wrestler who deserves better. Scott Charles Bigelow was born on September 1, 1961, in Asbury Park, New Jersey. From an early age, he stood out, not just because of his large frame, but because of his natural athletic ability. In high school, he excelled in wrestling and football, quickly earning a reputation as a dominant competitor. His biggest achievement came in 1979, when he placed third in the New Jersey State Wrestling Tournament. This was impressive for any athlete, but especially for a sophomore. Coaches saw potential in him, believing he could go far in collegiate wrestling or football. Unfortunately, a serious setback changed everything. Doctors discovered a cyst in his lower back, forcing him to miss his entire senior wrestling season. Unable to compete, he lost his momentum, and instead of pursuing college sports, he dropped out of school. With no diploma and few career options, Bigelow took on physically demanding jobs. He worked as a bouncer, bodyguard, and even a bounty hunter. One of his wildest stories involved tracking a fugitive to Mexico, where he claimed he was shot in the back and spent 6 months in a Mexican jail. Eventually, he realized he needed a real career. With his size, strength, and love for combat, he turned to professional wrestling. In May 1985, he enrolled in Larry Sharpe's Monster Factory, a top wrestling school in New Jersey. His athleticism and toughness made him a standout student, and within months, he was ready for his first match. On August 23, 1985, Bigelow made his debut at Studio 54 in New York City, an unusual venue for a wrestling event. His aggressive style and sheer power immediately caught attention, and he began climbing the ranks in the regional wrestling scene. By 1986, he signed with Continental Wrestling Association, CWA, in Memphis, where he was given the name that would define his career, Bam Bam Bigelow. The promoters saw huge potential in him and booked him in handicap matches, where he would take on multiple opponents at once. His incredible mix of strength and speed made him look unstoppable, and he quickly became one of the most talked about rising stars. His biggest breakthrough came in July 1986, when he won the Southern Heavyweight Championship. This victory put him on the radar of bigger wrestling promotions, and by the end of the year, it was clear: Bam Bam Bigelow was destined for something bigger. But the journey to the top wouldn't be easy. Behind the scenes, trouble was brewing, and Bigelow's personal and professional struggles would soon become just as well known as his in-ring success. Before we continue with the video and dive deeper into the issues with Bam Bam Bigelow's career, I'd love to ask for your support. I'm working towards reaching 1,000 subscribers, and your subscription would mean a lot. If you enjoy this content, consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps. Alright, let's get back to it. Bam Bam Bigelow's talent in the ring was undeniable, but outside of it, his troubled past followed him. Long before he was a wrestling star, he had already built up a serious criminal record, which may have played a major role in why WWE has distanced itself from his legacy. As a teenager, Bigelow frequently got into trouble with the law, His list of charges included aggravated assault, drug possession, robbery, and even attempted kidnapping. One of the most serious accusations was sexual assault, a charge that put an even bigger stain on his reputation. Eventually, his actions caught up to him, and he was sentenced to 9 months in the Albert C. Wagner Youth Correctional Facility. After his release, he appeared to turn his life around, but legal issues still followed him during and after his wrestling career. In 2000, he was involved in a serious motorcycle accident, which led to charges of reckless driving and endangering a child. According to reports, Bigelow crashed his motorcycle while riding with a child passenger, resulting in both being injured. Although he denied responsibility, the incident further damaged his public image. In addition to legal troubles, Bigelow's outspoken nature often put him at odds with wrestling promoters and executives. He never shied away from criticizing WWE, speaking out about the company's treatment of wrestlers, its political backstage environment, and the rampant drug use in the industry. During interviews, he accused WWE of overworking talent without proper medical support, and claimed that once a wrestler was no longer useful, they were cast aside. He also openly criticized Vince McMahon, which was something very few wrestlers dared to do at the time. Bigelow also had clashes with major WWE stars, particularly Shawn Michaels and The Clique. In the mid-90s, this group held massive influence behind the scenes, and if you weren't in their favor, your career could suffer. Bigelow didn't play their political games, which may have contributed to his downward trajectory in WWE. Even after leaving WWE, he still found himself in legal trouble. His painkiller addiction worsened, and he struggled financially, leading to further issues with the law. Unlike many wrestlers who managed to rehabilitate their image, Bigelow's past never faded away. WWE has inducted many controversial figures into the Hall of Fame, including wrestlers with criminal records and troubled histories. But in Bigelow's case, the combination of legal troubles, industry conflicts, and public criticism of WWE may have been enough to keep him permanently out. No one can say for sure whether his criminal record alone was the deciding factor, but it's clear that his troubled past didn't help his chances. And while Bigelow's in-ring skills and influence are undeniable, it seems WWE has chosen to focus on his mistakes rather than his legacy. In professional wrestling, talent isn't always enough to reach the top. Backstage politics can make or break a career, and for Bam Bam Bigelow, it played a huge role in how his WWE run unfolded, and possibly why he's not in the Hall of Fame today. One of the biggest roadblocks Bigelow faced was his issues with The Clique, a powerful backstage group consisting of Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Triple H, and X-Pac. In the mid-90s, The Clique had massive influence over WWE booking, meaning if you weren't on their good side, your career could be pushed aside. Bigelow wasn't one to play politics, and he certainly wasn't about to kiss up to Shawn Michaels, who was at the height of his influence. The tension between them became obvious behind the scenes, and despite Bigelow's success, including main eventing WrestleMania 11, his position in the company started to slip. By late 1995, he had gone from a featured star to being booked in meaningless matches. Frustrated, he left WWE altogether. Many believe that The Clique played a role in his exit, ensuring that Bigelow never became a long-term main event player. But WWE wasn't the only place where backstage politics hurt Bigelow's career. In WCW, 1998 to 2001, he once again found himself blocked from the top. Despite being one of the most skilled big men in wrestling, he never reached main event status. At the time, WCW was dominated by Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and other veterans who controlled the creative direction of the company. If you weren't part of their circle, your chances of getting a major push were slim. Even in ECW, where Bigelow had a strong run, he never fully became the face of the company. Though he won the ECW World Heavyweight Championship, he was never positioned as a long-term top guy. Some believe that his reputation for being outspoken made promoters hesitant to build the company around him. Another major factor that may have hurt his WWE Hall of Fame chances is his relationship with Vince McMahon. Bigelow was never afraid to call out WWE, and he spoke openly about how poorly wrestlers were treated. especially when it came to injuries, financial security, and drug problems in the industry. WWE has a long history of blacklisting wrestlers who criticize them, and Bigelow's outspoken nature might have made him a difficult person to celebrate in their Hall of Fame. Additionally, some speculate that WWE prefers to induct wrestlers who have strong connections to the company. Bigelow, despite his contributions, spent more time in WCW and ECW than he did in WWE, which may have made him a less desirable candidate in their eyes. At the end of the day, Bam Bam Bigelow was a victim of the business side of wrestling. His talent should have made him a permanent main event star, but instead, backstage politics, industry grudges, and his refusal to play along kept him from achieving even greater success. And in a business where perception is everything, that might be why WWE still refuses to honor him today. Bam Bam Bigelow's physical toughness made him a dominant force in the ring, but behind the scenes his body was breaking down. The years of punishing bumps, high-impact moves, and a grueling wrestling schedule took a severe toll on his health, mobility, and overall well-being. Like many wrestlers of his era, Bigelow ignored his injuries and worked through the pain. His knees were worn down, his back was in constant agony, and his joints were deteriorating from years of heavy landings. Rather than taking time off, he relied on painkillers to keep going, a dangerous habit that would eventually spiral out of control. His health took an even worse turn in 2000 when he was involved in a horrific motorcycle accident. The crash left him with third-degree burns over 40% of his body, causing severe pain and permanent scarring. While recovering, he was prescribed even stronger pain medication, deepening his dependence on prescription drugs. Despite his struggles, Bigelow tried to keep wrestling, but by the early 2000s his career had slowed down significantly. The injuries were too much, and he was no longer the same dominant force he once was. His final years were spent dealing with financial struggles, and he was forced to rely on Social Security disability benefits to get by. Then came the tragic news. On January 19, 2007, Bam Bam Bigelow was found dead in his home in Hudson, Florida. He was only 45 years old. The cause? A deadly mix of drugs in his system. The toxicology report showed cocaine and benzodiazepines, anti-anxiety medication, at fatal levels. On top of that, he was also suffering from severe heart disease, atherosclerosis, which likely contributed to his death. Despite the circumstances, his passing was ruled an accidental overdose, not suicide. But for fans and fellow wrestlers, his death was yet another reminder of how brutal the wrestling industry can be. Many wrestlers from his generation met similar fates: years of injuries, self-medication, and lack of proper medical care leading to early deaths. Bigelow's story was especially tragic because he was once seen as indestructible, yet in the end, his body simply couldn't handle the years of punishment. His death left the wrestling world in mourning. Fellow wrestlers and fans paid tribute, remembering him as a one-of-a-kind athlete who changed the way big men wrestled. Those who knew him personally spoke about his kind heart and generosity, saying that despite his tough guy image, he was a good man at his core. But even in death, one question remained: would WWE ever give him the honor he deserved? For many fans, the fact that WWE has never inducted him into the Hall of Fame feels like a final injustice, one that keeps his legacy from getting the full recognition it deserves. But was it just his health struggles and tragic ending that kept him out? Or was there something deeper at play? The WWE Hall of Fame is meant to celebrate wrestling's greatest legends, honoring those who made a lasting impact in the business. By that logic, Bam Bam Bigelow should have been inducted years ago. His incredible agility, main event status, and influence on future generations made him one of the most unique big men in wrestling history. So why hasn't it happened? The truth is, the Hall of Fame isn't just about talent. WWE doesn't follow a strict set of rules for induction. Vince McMahon and the company decide who gets in. And in many cases, those decisions have little to do with actual wrestling accomplishments. One possible reason for Bigelow's exclusion is his criminal past. WWE has inducted controversial figures before, but Bigelow's record, including assault, robbery, and reckless endangerment, might be a line they don't want to cross. Another factor is his criticism of WWE. Bigelow was never afraid to speak out against the company, calling them out for their mistreatment of talent, lack of health care, and toxic backstage politics. WWE has been known to blacklist wrestlers who publicly criticize them, and Bigelow's outspoken nature could have sealed his fate. There's also the tragic circumstances of his death. WWE has honored wrestlers who struggled with addiction, but they are selective about who they associate with their brand. Bigelow's history of drug use and his accidental overdose may have made him an uncomfortable choice for induction. Some argue that his lack of championships hurts his case. While he won gold in WCW and ECW, he was never WWE champion. However, this argument doesn't hold much weight. Many Hall of Famers never won world titles but still got in based on their contributions. Ultimately, WWE controls the Hall of Fame narrative. If honoring Bigelow doesn't fit their current agenda, they simply won't do it. But should a Hall of Fame be about politics, or should it recognize those who truly left their mark on the industry? Bigelow's career speaks for itself, and many believe it's long past time he got the recognition he deserves. Which raises an important question. Does Bam Bam Bigelow even need the WWE Hall of Fame to cement his legacy? Or has his impact already been set in stone without it? While WWE may have ignored Bam Bam Bigelow, his fans and fellow wrestlers haven't. Even without a Hall of Fame induction, Bigelow is still considered one of the best big men to ever step into a ring. His fans believe that his absence from the Hall of Fame is a huge injustice. He main evented WrestleMania 11, competed in WCW and ECW, and helped redefine what a big man in wrestling could do. In today's wrestling landscape, we see athletic heavyweights like Keith Lee and Bronson Reed, but Bigelow was doing it decades earlier. Many argue that his influence on the business is undeniable. On wrestling forums and social media, discussions pop up every year questioning why less accomplished wrestlers have been inducted while Bigelow continues to be overlooked. Some fans believe it's time for WWE to be pressured into righting this wrong, similar to how public campaigns helped get Randy Savage and Owen Hart recognized. And it's not just fans. Many wrestlers have spoken out in favor of Bigelow's induction. Taz, who worked closely with Bigelow in ECW, has repeatedly said that Bam Bam was one of the most underrated big men of all time. Diamond Dallas Page has also pushed for his induction, praising him as one of the most talented and professional wrestlers he ever worked with. Even Bret Hart, one of wrestling's greatest technicians, called Bigelow one of the best workers he had ever been in the ring with. Hart pointed out that Bigelow had the rare ability to make inexperienced opponents look great, something that few wrestlers could pull off at his size. Despite this overwhelming support, WWE remains silent on the issue. Some believe that if Bigelow's family or former colleagues publicly pushed for his induction, WWE might be forced to reconsider. Others argue that WWE will eventually induct him, but only when it benefits them. Regardless of whether he ever receives the Hall of Fame honor, his legacy is already secured. His matches are still studied by aspiring wrestlers, his style is still copied, and his name is still respected by those who truly understand wrestling. But the real question is, does a Hall of Fame plaque really matter, or has Bam Bam Bigelow already proven himself without it? Bam Bam Bigelow's career was filled with jaw-dropping moments, but his legacy still feels unfinished. He was a trailblazer, a true innovator, and a one-of-a-kind performer. Yet WWE continues to leave him out of their Hall of Fame. So now the question goes to you. Does WWE have a valid reason to keep him out, or is this just another example of the company holding grudges? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you think. What's undeniable is that Bigelow changed the game. He wasn't just another big guy. He was a freak athlete, capable of doing things in the ring that no man his size should have been able to do. He proved that heavyweights didn't have to be slow and lumbering, and in doing so, he paved the way for future generations of wrestlers who broke the mold. Despite his impact, WWE has never given him the recognition he deserves. Whether it's due to his legal troubles, backstage conflicts, or his tragic death, the company has chosen to push his name to the side. But here's the thing, does a WWE Hall of Fame induction even matter? Many wrestling legends have said that being in the Hall of Fame doesn't define their legacy. Bigelow's work speaks for itself. His matches are still watched today, his style is still studied, and his influence can be seen in wrestlers across multiple generations. Fans still talk about him, and wrestlers still respect him, and that's something no company can erase. So, do you think WWE will ever induct Bam Bam Bigelow? Or has too much time passed for it to even matter anymore? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Bam Bam Bigelow's career, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm working towards 1,000 subscribers, and your support helps me keep making content like this. So if you love wrestling history, hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep the Bam Bam Bigelow legacy alive.